Hello everyone, welcome to GB Ready Automation World. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please go and subscribe to it, enable notification for more interesting videos. Right, I have already a lot of videos which are useful to automation engineers. Please go and watch them if you haven't watched it. Today's topic is top 10 exceptions in Selenium frequently we will get and how to handle those exceptions. Right, quickly we will jump into the topic. First one is no such element exception. Right, why we will get no such element exception? There are multiple reasons will be there. Right, maybe today I have written some locator. In the next regression, maybe next release, whenever we are running, we are observing that it is getting no such element. Maybe due to wrong locator was changed. Maybe developers have updated that DOM, or it is taking some time due to environment issue. It is taking some time to load the element. Right. In those cases, if it is taking more time or less time, right, we should not use hard weights. Use the dynamic weights until it should appear. Right. Either we can use WebDriver weight or Fluent weight. We can use. Suppose if it is changed our locator, we have to identify instead of sometimes we have to use, if it is dynamically changing means we have to use how to handle those dynamic things. We have different techniques. Right, either we can use starts with, contains, or ends with. Right, don't hard code the locator if it is frequently changing. Right, use the dynamic exports. Right, how to those things we have to handle either by using dynamic locators we have to handle or dynamic weights. Right, use the explicit weight or ensure locator is correctly or unique. Right, whenever exception is got, right, in every test case we must use the exception handling and print the what is the reason. Right, which element we are trying to identify and right why it is failing. Right, clearly print in the logs so that we will easily identify it. If we are practicing, that's fine, one or two locators will be there, we will easily identify why it is failing. But in real time what will happen, we will have hundreds of locators while executing. Clearly if you mention while going to the maybe long flows will be there. If you write clearly exception handling and logs, then only it's easy for us where it is failed, why it is failed, we can easily understand. So use the dynamic locators. If it is dynamically changing, use the exports starts with the contains, instead of hard coding such type of locators, and use the explicit and fluent weights. Next type of exception is second one is TimeoutException. Right, whenever we will use explicit and fluent weight, we will get we will see this is TimeoutException due to it is taking longer time to load the page maybe, or it is taking longer time to display. Right, we will get timeout whenever we will use explicit and fluent weight. The WebDriver is taking too long to display the element, and the element is not visible or interactable within the set timeout. If we, while creating the WebDriver weight, we will give some weight, either 10 seconds, 20 seconds, but within that time it is unable to find it. Right, sometimes maybe due to environment issue it is taking longer time. Right, or otherwise there might be some AJAX calls will be there. It is taking longer time due to AJAX calls, backend API calls, or database is taking to respond. We should use increase the wait time. Don't use hard time, hard weights. Use the dynamic weights, increase that time. Right, use the explicit weight with the proper condition and increase the wait time if needed. Ensure the element is actually loaded in the expected time. Right, max time we have to, whenever we are using explicit weight or fluent weight, these two we will use for particular elements. Right, we have to make sure what is the maximum time. Suppose if it is application is taking longer time right? While writing, maybe today we don't know, after executing, right, 5 times, 10 times, we know, right, we are getting issues, then, right, we have to increase the maximum time, how much time it will take, right? We have to keep that one, right? It will not impact anything, right? If it is 60 seconds means we are waiting, if it is 5 seconds means that is a dynamic wait. If it is waiting within 5 seconds it is loading element, that means no impact on it, right? If it is taking tomorrow 10 seconds or 20 seconds, 30 seconds, our script more stable, we have given up to 60 seconds. So use the max timeout, right, whenever we are using, then we can avoid these timeout exceptions. ElementClickInterceptedException, right? ElementClickInterceptedException. This is mostly when we are getting is element is overlapped. Element is overlapped with some other element, right? Mostly we will get whenever page is loading. Some, right? If you take Angular applications, right, React applications, what will happen whenever we will click on any element, it will load symbol will come, right? In that time, at that time, what will happen if you are trying to click or enter anything? What will happen? Element click intercepted exception. Element will be visible only. Element will be visible, but it's not exactly loaded, right? It's not properly loaded or fully loaded, right? Element is visible only, but at that time it is trying to click. It is visible, it is trying to click, but because of exact, instead of clicking exact element, it will click right side or left side or top or bottom, it will click. Because of that, we will get element intercepted exception. This is maybe, right, not loaded, fully page is not loaded, or element is overlapped with another element. We will get these issues. In those cases, we will use JavaScript executor to force click. Or we have to wait. Sometimes round buttons will come, right? We have to wait until invisibility, right? We can write invisibility of element, or we can wait for until Ajax calls are loaded, right? We can also do that. Any JavaScript calls or Ajax calls, right? We can wait until those are completed, right? We can take care of those things, or we can use the JavaScript executor to click on it to avoid this element intercepted exception, right? Invalid element state exception. Invalid element state exception. We are trying to interact with the element that is disabled or read only, right? Sometimes what will happen, maybe it is we are able to inspect it by using developer console, we are able to inspect it, but the element was disabled or read only, right? We did not observe, suppose we did not observe it. Now what will happen whenever we are trying to click or enter the text on it? What will happen? We will get an invalid element state exception, right? Check if the element is enabled before performing any action, right? If you, it's better to, in those situations, if we have more scenarios, your test cases are failing more due to invalid state exception, right? Before clicking on it, we can add whether it is clickable or not, or we can add whether it is enabled or not, displayed or not. Mostly we have to check enabled or not, right? So that before here, how can we do? See, is enabled. We can use is enabled. Then we can do actions on it. If it is enabled means we can either enter the text, we can click on it, right? Use JavaScript executor if necessary, right? Invalid element state exception. If you want to avoid these things before doing any action, we can verify whether it is enabled or not, or JavaScript executor we can use, right? Element not visible exception. The element exists in the DOM but is not visible on the UI, possibly due to hidden or overlapped by another element, right? Element not visible exception. The element exists in the DOM but it is not visible on the UI, possibly due to being hidden or overridden by, right, overlapped by another element. In those cases, Selenium cannot interact with those elements, leading to failure. Right, we have to ensure that element is, what is the resolution for it, we have to ensure element must be visible before interacting. We have to use either explicit wait or wait for the visibility of it, or sometimes scroll to element, right? Sometimes this is also a most scenario we will get that issue, element not visible. In the DOM it is visible, but what will happen, maybe bottom of the screen, right? We have to scroll to that element, then it will come into visible, then we can click on it, right? Such scenarios also we will get it, right? Element not visible exception. No such window exception, right? No such window. Attempting to switch window or tab that does not exist or has been closed, right? What is the impact of it? The script cannot perform actions on the intended window, causing failures, right? Sometimes what will happen, whenever we click on the element is taking longer time to load the page, right? To open the window, new window, suppose new tab or window. Before that we are trying to, right, switch to it. What will happen? It will say no such window exception, right? Then suppose you are closed window, it is taking longer time to close. In those cases also we will get issue. So we have to, before switching, right, before doing any action on the new window, wait until we have a explicit wait, right? Number of windows to be, expected condition number of windows to be should be 2 or 3, right? We can before doing any action on the new window, just wait for it until it loaded. Then we will not get those such no such window exceptions. No such frame, right? Attempting to switch to a frame that does not exist in the DOM, right? The script fails to interact with the elements within the non-existing frame, right? Sometimes what will happen, there are multiple frames. Suppose if you are instead of one frame you are switched to another frame, what will happen? We will get a, right, no such element exception. Or suppose today is frame is there, developer changed that name of the frame, right? We will get no such frame exception, right? We have to ensure frame is present before switching, right? Please, we have to make sure that the frame is sometimes while writing, right, maybe instead of switching to one frame we will switch to another frame, right? Then we will get some locator issues. We have to use explicit wait. There is explicit wait, we can wait for the frame, right? While typing also, frame ID or name, right, we must type properly, otherwise we will get no such frame exceptions, right? Ensure the frame is present before switching. Use explicit wait to wait the frame presence, right, to avoid no such frame exception. No alert present exception, right? Attempting to switch to an alert when none exists. Sometimes, right, alert is taking some time to come, right, to populate alert. Before that we are trying to switch to it, we will get no such alert exception. We have to wait until alert is present. We have a explicit wait, right, element alert to be present, right? We have to wait until alert is present, then switch to it, right? Then switch to it. Use explicit wait to wait until the, before doing any action, switch to it. Element not selectable exception. Element not selectable exception. Attempting to select an element that is either disabled or not selectable, right? Suppose there is a drop down, the script cannot select the desired option, leading to test failure. Ensure the element is ensure the element is selectable before interacting. Use explicit wait to wait until the present element to become selectable, right? Select tags will be there, right? Mostly whenever we are doing a select tag, right? Select tag, right? Before loading, if you try to click on the options, right? If you try to click on the options, it will say element not a selectable exception. So we have to wait until drop down properly fully loaded. Right? We have to use explicit wait. It should fully function and drop down is properly loaded. Then only we can do the action on it. Right? Then we can ensure that element not selectable exception. Session not found. These are all very rarely we will get session not found exception. The WebDriver session is either terminated or not started. Right? Properly. Right? When these type of when we are session not found exception, we will get when parallel execution. Mostly whenever we are executing parallel, right? What will happen if we don't handle properly driver instantiation? What will happen? It will create a driver instance, right? It will close. If you are running 3 threads parallelly, right? If you don't handle properly, what will happen? Second thread will close first thread session. Right? Whenever first thread trying to close the session not found exception we will get. Right? Mostly these are all in the, we will find these type of issues in the parallel execution, session not found. So the WebDriver session either is terminated or not started. Ensure driver properly initialized. Check for any code that might prematurely close. Mostly we will, in the parallel execution, we will see these type of issues. We must handle proper thread driver initiation whenever we are executing parallel. Right, WebDriver exception. Right, it is a generic error occurred in the WebDriver, often due to issue with the driver or the browser. Right, sometimes due to mismatch between the browser and driver, not compatible. Right, then we will get a WebDriver exception. Ensure WebDriver and browser versions are compatible. Check for any issues that WebDriver server or network. Right, mostly these WebDriver exception we will get due to version mismatches. We have to make sure versions are matched. And one more important exception, StaleElementReferenceException. Right, frequently we will get this StaleElementException. Right, this tail element, what is tail elements means? It is no longer attached to the DOM. No longer attached to the DOM. It is previously located, but now it is no longer attached to the DOM. This can happen due to element being deleted or modified by JavaScript. Right, due to backend JavaScript, this element was deleted, or page getting refreshed or navigated. Page is refreshed means freshly loaded again. That means previously identified element and now it will not, it will become stale. Dynamic content updates that replace the element. Dynamic content updates that replace the element. Right, stale element will occur due to page refresh or dynamically page is refreshed, or due to Ajax calls. Maybe page was refreshed. That means previously identified element becomes stale. That is newly loaded again. That means previous state will become stale. In those cases, what is the resolution? We have to locate the element again. We have to locate the element again. Whenever we will get a stale element, just again find the element and click on it. Or we can implement a retry logic. Either we can handle in the catch block or in the retry. We can multiple retries, right? We can have a while loop and retry it and click on it. Or use explicit wait. Use the explicit wait. Or refresh the page. There are multiple ways we can handle the stale element refresh. Right? Either refresh the exception or use the explicit wait or loop it and handle it, or in the catch block. Right? Multiple ways we can. These are the top exceptions we will get in the Selenium frequently. Then how to handle. Right, in interview also they will ask what are the frequent exceptions in Selenium. We will get how you will handle it. Right, this session is very helpful. Right, Please go through it thoroughly. Right, right, if you like my way of teaching and content presentation, just subscribe to the channel, enable notification for more interesting videos. If you have any doubts, suggestions, please comment in the comment section. I will take it. Right, I will improve it. Thanks for watching.